Alright, so we are back on the LF swapped S197 Mustang again here. And as you can see, in the last video we were cleaning up wiring and stuff. But over here on the bench we have a whole assortment of parts. So in this video we are going to be getting the turbo installed. And I'll just do a quick run through of the parts we got here. This is a GT.45 turbo with the oil lines required to install it. So we have a feed line, a drain line, a couple AN fittings. We also have a boost gauge. We have a 50mm wastegate right here. We have an air fuel ratio gauge right here that we'll be installing. 2-bar map sensor, some couplers for the charge pipes, and then replacement motor mounts. The motor mounts in the car are original to the car and have like 250,000 miles on them, and they're very worn out. So we went ahead and ordered some upgraded polyurethane motor mounts. So those will stiffen that up a lot and be new. So yeah, I'm gonna get going on putting this in, figure out how we're going to get it installed here. I have some blocks of wood here because I was messing around setting it on here, but as you can see the exhaust comes out right here, so we got to get the turbo mounted somewhere in this area where it will line up with everything and work. So let me get going on that and I'll bring you back. I've been messing with this for a minute here, trying different placements, but I think this is the best placement for what we got going on here. Because the exhaust comes out so far forward, if I were to spin this around with the intake on this side, it brings the whole turbo like all the way out to here, which is going to be way too far out the front of the car. So we kind of have it backwards here, spun around, so the intake's on this side, exhaust is coming out this side. This is where our exhaust comes up. So we'll put like a 45, we'll cut this off, do like a 45 coming out of there, throw a piece of steel in the plasma table, cut an exhaust flange for that, and weld that all on so that sits there. And then our charge pipe will be like 6 inches long. It'll come out of here, go straight into there. We'll use a piece of this aluminum pipe here, cut it to fit. As far as oil feed and drain, I think the feed line, we have an adapter that goes from the stock LS oil cooler lines, and the feed will come right up into the top of here. Obviously it'll get clocked so it's upright, and the drain will come out and go right into the top of that valve cover. So there's one look at it from the front right there. That's what it looks like from the front. So let me get going on Fusion 360, start making flanges, and we'll cut them on the plasma, weld them on, and keep going from there.
Yeah.
Alright, so there is the turbo mounted. As you can see, just have 2 bolts stuck in it for now to hold it there. There's the plates that were cut on the plasma table, welded on right there. And that is where it sits. So this side has plenty of clearance there. Not touching anything. Lined up right with the intake. So there's that. So next step tomorrow will be to get the oil lines ran, the feed, and the return, because we can't start it right now the way it sits because it has no oil going to the turbo. So that's it for tonight. I'll be back again tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day here, and what we're going to be doing today is getting the turbo feed and drain situated here. So we've got to clock this so that the feed is facing straight up and the drain will be facing straight down. And what we're doing for the feed and the drain is we have this ICT billet adapter here. So this goes where the stock LS oil cooler lines would go. This doesn't have any oil cooler lines on it obviously, so it just has a block off plate. So you put this on, it's got an 1/8 inch pipe thread in it. That will thread nicely into this restrictor right here like that. And the restrictor will thread onto this feed line. And then this goes onto this plate, which goes on top of the turbo. And then the drain, very similar. This goes on the bottom of the turbo. So we'll probably end up using these 245s and come straight out the bottom of the turbo here. Do a 45 that way, and then 45 right into this corner top of the valve cover. It'll be super short run, so hopefully shouldn't have any restriction on it, but I'll get going on that. Alright, so there is the turbo almost fully installed. As you can see, charge pipe is on. Went ahead and mounted this little intake temp sensor because the stock truck one has it with the mass airflow sensor and we don't have that. So this is from like a 97 or 98 Chevy truck. with a 350 in it, but they work just fine, so that'll get wired to the PCM over there. Very short charge pipe is on. We're not putting a blow-off valve on here. The wastegate's still got to go on. I think I'm going to cut a hole here and put it in the exhaust housing of the turbo, but we'll get there when we get there. The drain line comes off the bottom and goes right there to the top of the valve cover. That little aluminum bung has to get welded in there. It's just sitting there for now in the hole I drilled. But as you can see, there's the drain line all going downhill to the valve cover. The feed line is hooked in right above the oil filter to the oil cooler line housing adapter thing we got. And the feed line runs up and comes up right here. I went ahead and ordered a 90-degree 4AN fitting to go on there, because if you put this on straight, it'd be sticking up like that, which is not ideal. So while we're waiting on that to come in, I'm going to go ahead and mount the boost and air fuel gauge. Those are going to go on the pillar inside right here. So I'll get going on that next. Alright, so went ahead and got the 90-degree fitting in here for this feed line. Got the drain line, that's all tigged on there. There's our drain line fully connected. Got the gauges installed inside. So we got our boost gauge and our air fuel gauge, which the air fuel gauge doesn't work yet because we don't have our downpipe on the turbo, and the O2 sensor has to go in the downpipe, but it's all wired up and hooked up. As you can see here, everything turns on. If we turn the headlights on, gauges light up. So that's all good. And if we start it up now, you can see that gauge is working. For a minute, make sure there's no oil leaks, but so far looking good. I also went ahead and installed the polyurethane motor mounts. So the stiffer motor mounts, so those are in there. It had little spacers to put in it. I put all the spacers in. That brought the engine up like a ½ inch from where it was with the old worn out original motor mounts. So now the oil pan has plenty of clearance on the steering rack, and it doesn't move near as much as it did. So it's not going to hit the steering rack. That will not be a problem. It also doesn't shake around as much as it used to before. It was moving all over the place. So that's that. I think that's going to end it for this video. Make sure to stay tuned. We're going to be putting the blow-off valve and getting this thing tuned and out on the street. So stay tuned for that video. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.